What's up, y'all? Have you ever heard of the PASCO egg? The egg is a fun trophy that moves around the West Coast, and if you land where it's currently located, you capture the egg back to where you launched. I captured it in 2019 from Avenal to Hollister in my old Yantar when I first started to get brave in cross-country soaring. I didn't plan to capture it then, and I didn't plan to capture it this time either. I was watching the weather leading up to the weekend. Ramy, flying his ASG-29 TG, flew from Minden to Williams the day before, capturing the egg for Minden. I had two general routes in mind, either around the Horn back to Williams or follow Ramy back to Minden. To be honest, I didn't have any more time to plan than that, but I already know most of the route from my previous flights. On the ramp, Ramy said he planned to drive back and that I could hitch a ride. It sounded like an adventure to me, so I picked Minden. I launched first at 10:41 a.m. with David Greenhill and Ramy, second and third behind me. I arrived on GOAT just minutes after the first Wispies started cycling there. I took a short climb and continued on the usual route north as more clouds developed. I waited around M6, where there were decent clouds while David passed, and then Ramy a few minutes later. Then I stuck to him like glue again. We quickly ran into trouble trying to climb the Trinities. The area north of Yala always seems to be weak, but we were only able to climb to 12,000 feet before making the jump. We arrived in the lee and shadow below the ridges and really struggled. Being in the right mental state is a huge factor to my performance. It's critical for me to predict the anxious parts of my flight and find a way to work through it. Even before taking off, I knew this would be the hard part. What makes me most nervous is looking down at the rocks and trees. It helps me to lean into this and visualize what it's going to look like and remind myself how I'm going to stay safe. There were great clouds above us, but only weak, broken bubbles of lift. We always had safe glide to Trinity Center, so the only risk was landing out early. Eventually, we headed east, away from the mountains, and reconnected. Ramy said, "I feel like I can breathe again," and I laughed. I'm so glad to hear he was feeling the same as I was, even with his thousands of hours of experience. Mount Shasta was next. It's California's largest active volcano. It last erupted around 200 years ago and stretches more than 14,000 feet in the air. The landouts start to get sparse here, but south of Shasta, there's McLeod Airstrip. I think the usual route here would be towards Mount Lassen in the Sierras, but that is high terrain for our working band today. We pushed farther east instead, towards the Warners. The land is relatively flat, and there are several paved runways along the way with farm fields. Conditions were good here, so we spent more time running convergence and less time circling, and our speed ticked up. When we got to air sailing, we chose to go towards Reno. The clouds were massive, but they shaded the ground, and we had trouble finding a good climb. What makes it worse is the Reno airspace below, which gives us less freedom to search and less time to find a climb. Nevertheless, we eventually find a climb and continue. We now had Minden in final glide, but Ramy kindly asked me what's my longest flight. I told him 725 kilometers, and he replied, "Let's break it." We ran the last line of clouds down the Pine Nuts and ended up turning at Mount Patterson to make it a 785-kilometer flight. I landed at Minden a few minutes after Ramy and might have set the record for fastest turnaround on an egg capture. The fine folks there helped me find a spot to tie down, and I returned a few days later with my trailer. What really surprised me debriefing with Ramy is he says nobody had ever followed him as closely as me. I always tried to stay 10 or 20 seconds behind. When he turned, we'd end up in about the right position for me to keep up the formation flying without killing my neck looking at crazy angles. I stayed this way because I wanted to experience exactly what he did and predict his choices and be able to talk about every single one. I followed him like this for a few flights, and I'm getting pretty good at predicting what he'll do. I don't think there's a faster way to learn, even in the same cockpit, because formation flying forces you to fly 100% the same at all times. For example, when Ramy selects a speed, I just match it. Then I can adjust the MacCready setting until the speed to fly is the same. In this way, I learned despite his claims to always fly at MacCready 2, he actually flies anywhere from 1.5 when he's nervous to 4.5 when there's a big cloud ahead. Also, although he says he doesn't pay attention to the speed chevrons, he actually manages to fly suspiciously accurately to them. I loaded my glider to match his wing loading too. Thermaling, he very slightly outclimbs me. Running, the JS3 clearly wins. Since I'd always get higher than him in cruise, I played around with various ways to dump energy. My favorite was pretending to do a thermal entry by pitching up and pulling flaps, because then it would be obvious once I returned to cruise speed that I'd lost 50 to 100 feet. It's not insignificant, so the lesson is to do this when necessary, but no more. The main things I learned were, first, formation flying is a fantastic way to learn. Second, 8 really needs to be flown fast. Third, simply being ready to make this flight work was the single best decision I made. The PASCO egg is sitting at Williams, waiting for you to go claim it. Will you be prepared when the right day arrives? Peace out, and I'll see you in the skies.